Hello everyone, Derek Floyd here, Beautiful Now Podcast. Welcome to another edition of Chasing the Impossible, the segment where we interview ordinary folks just like you and me that have done extraordinary things, that tell you, you know what, you can do it too. And of course, if you like the stuff that you see here at the Beautiful Now Podcast, Chasing the Impossible, please hit us with a like and a subscribe or even a follow, whatever channel you see this content on, to make sure you get the new content whenever it's uploaded. We want to make sure everyone gets a chance to share with great stuff. Now, without further ado, my special guest today is a good friend of mine. He just happens to be from my hometown of Ohio. Go Bucks. But he's amazing. And he's done some things. He's even been seen on Mythbusters breaking glass with his voice. I know this is going to blow your mind. He's also a vocal coach for many great artists, which I'll let you talk about that in a moment as well. And I think you're going to find his story pretty encouraging. So if you want to help me welcome my man, Jaime Vendera. Jaime, you there, brother?
Yes, I am.
What's going on, man?
I didn't have lessons early this morning, so I'm outside weeding my hillside, and I'm already burnt from it. But I always make time for you, brother.
Man,
I'm always excited to work with you.
It's a Buckeye thing, man. We just got this, kindredship thing.
I don't remember you telling me you were from Ohio.
Come on, man. Dayton, Ohio, brother. Dayton, Ohio.
That's right.
Well, you've had this talk. There's only a few of us from Ohio, so,
Yeah. My condolences now. Hey, you want to know something? I actually did a TV show. And I'm the only, the only person to shatter a wine glass with his voice in the Horseshoe Stadium. So I'm just,
wow.
I'm not going to say who it is. But,
wow. I won't say anything. Well, man, I'm just so glad you took a few minutes out of your incredibly busy schedule to see my subscribers here chasing the impossible. Your story is always great. I just want to be able to let someone else know, hey, there's some things that may seem impossible that they can do too. So just thanks for taking the time, man. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. I love this show. You're very inspiring.
Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. So let's take it back a little bit and start off. How did you discover your singing talent, number one? Were you always a singer, or was that something that you just fell into?
Literally, I'm not making this up. I remember, it's crazy, I remember this memory. I was probably 3 years old, and I was staying at my grandmother's. She's watching me, and my mom must have been at work or something. And I'm running through her house, and the kitchen connected into this big room. They had a record player in there, and Elvis Presley was playing, and it was Jailhouse Rock. And I'm in my socks, and all of a sudden I hear this voice, and I slide in my socks and stop right in front of that record player, and I was enamored. I fell in love with Elvis Presley at that moment, and then it just stuck with me. They show him on TV. They always play the records. I learned the lyrics. I was singing at that young age, and I got in a choir in school. And by 16, I was playing in cover bands out in bars,
You were hooked.
The bar scene. Yeah, I was hooked.
And I just had this picture of Risky Business when the guy slides in front of that thing.
Oh, my God.
Is that your slide?
That's exactly what it was. I never made the connection, but...
That's it, man. That's the moment that you slid in and you became the singer right there.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. So tell me, you started singing and you started singing in choirs. You went through school. When did you make the transition from going there to trying to be the superstar like L.A. the whole nine?
Right after high school. Back in the 80s, everyone was big. Guns N' Roses, Motley Crue, Poison and all these. So everyone had those delusions of grandeur. You gotta follow your dreams, though.
Come on, man. So 80s rock hair.
Absolutely. So I moved out there and I studied voice at Musicians Institute. It was a good school, but I needed more. Mm-hmm. So then I hooked up with a lot of great coaches. Thomas Appel, who wrote Can You Sing a High C Without Straining? Elizabeth Sabine, who wrote Strengthening Your Singing Voice, and of course my main coach Jim Gillette, who was in one of those 80s bands, a band called Nitro.
Nice.
With Michelangelo. Remember Michelangelo Bailey? He had that four-neck guitar.
Wow.
Crazy, amazing. He sang like up in the helium.
Oh my gosh. So you went out there to become an 80s hairband rocker.
Yeah, in fact, that's why I wore this T-shirt, because it all started because of Jim. So
Nice.
This is Nitro. I pulled this out of my closet to wear for you.
Nice.
I went out there to be an 80s rocker, but I tell you, Derek, I was probably the worst singer out of the 10,000 out there trying to make it big. It was overwhelming. Prices for to live in an apartment were just crazy, and all I could do is go to school, try to work a part-time job to pay for rent, and it was just mind-boggling. When you're coming from a small town in Ohio, and all of a sudden you're on Hollywood Boulevard every night. It's insane.
And that whole sleazy LA rock vibe, was that nuts? I mean, coming from Ohio to that, it had to be a complete transition.
It was. I could tell you some stories, but we can't tell you on.
It's a PG show, man. PG.
Yes, but I will say this. I remember going out years later. I forget. I think I was doing an infomercial with Alex Trebek, and I went. I hadn't been out there in like 15, 20 years, and I'm going down Sunset Strip, and it's like Disney World now. They've cleaned it up. It isn't what it was back when I was living there. I mean, you could have 4 or 5-year-old kids walking down the street, and everything's family oriented. It's much cleaner than what it used to be.
Yeah, wow. So you get out there, you try to do the rock band, you're trying to live the dream. When do you go, okay, I need to get some lessons? Like, how did that even transpire?
I remember my drummer out there, and this is nothing against him, but I remember him saying, you sang so well before you went to Musicians Institute.
Oof.
And I don't think it was so much the training. I think it was overwhelmed. You know, all of a sudden, I knew a little bit about voice, not a lot, but I'm bombarded. We're taking music theory classes and vocal health, and you become real self-conscious. And it's hard to be in a band out there unless you have the money to rent a space to practice. So it was tough. And I came home with my tail between my legs. I was only out there a little over a year. But, I met my now wife. We've been together since 1991.
Congratulations. That's a win.
I know. She's my best friend. So I came back, and I kind of got out of music for a minute. And then I met this guitarist named Scott Stiff, and he's like 4 or 5 years younger than me. So I'm 21 at the time when I came back. He's like 16, and we're still together. We're still writing music. And he had a band, and they were playing Steelheart and Skid Row. And I thought, well, I'll give it another shot. And I got back into it, and I was feeling it, but I was like, okay. I remember the Vocal Power stuff that Jim Gillette put out, and Nitro was still around. So I started tracking him down at every concert they came through, and we became friends. And I took lessons with him. I did some cassette lessons to the Mel Thomas Appel. I hooked up with Elizabeth Sabine. I did phone lessons, and I just kept going, and studying. And one day, I think it was 1996, I decided I wanted to be a coach. I really didn't decide that. A friend of mine, Troy Gregory, he called me up, and I got to tell the story. He says, Jamie, can you teach me to sing high? I'm like, why? He said, well, you can sing high, and I want to sing Pull Me Under by this band, Dream Theater. And I swear, Derek, I was like, I don't even like that singer. I'm not a Dream Theater fan. In my defense, I fell in love with Dream Theater a few years later, and I fell in love with James LaRue's voice before he became my student. So I told him, I teased him about this. But at that moment, I thought I could teach him scales, and I thought about Jim Gillette and the breaking of the glass, and he used to go, hey, he'd do this really high slide. Mm-hmm. And I had a pitch wheel sitting here. It was like a round harmonica. And I said, Troy, try this. And we just did a slide. And I had him up to that A4, which is the highest note in Pull Me Under, in like 45 minutes. That's like 5 notes higher than he ever done in full voice. And I kind of giggled. I thought, wow, I could actually teach voice this way. And
so you were naturally gifted to do part of this, and then you were trained by Jim Gillette to sing better. But then someone asked you to train them. Did you realize you had it in you to train from the get?
No, because me and the guitar player that lived with me in California, we used to say those who can do and those who can't teach.
I've always heard that. I've heard that too.
The ironic thing is that's how he makes his living. He's a guitar instructor, and I'm a vocal instructor. Never wanted to be a vocal coach, and I did that with Troy. And bring it back full circle, I didn't see him for like 20 years. I was at a Dream Theater concert, and he ended up being there. So we've talked on the phone a few times. I'm like, dude, you're the reason I'm a vocal coach. Part of the reason. So.
Wow.
But no, I think I started doing lessons around here, around where I live, because people heard about me. And I had to kind of learn on my own. I didn't want to copy Jim's stuff. I didn't want to copy Elizabeth's stuff. And ironically and thankfully, even though like Doug Marks sells the Vocal Power, the metal method, Jim has told me, he says, look, you're the only one that I endorse to teach Vocal Power. And Elizabeth, before she passed away, said, you're the only one I want teaching my stuff. But still, I do, but I kind of created my own thing, over the years. I'm like, I got to be my own person. I can't copy Thomas or Jim or Elizabeth. And it just unfolded over all these years. And I created what's called the ISO method.
Wow. So position us into this now, because now we're going to head into Mythbusters. And did you always have a dream of saying, I'm going to break glass, or is this just something you fell upon?
No, I did, because back in the Headbangers Ball days on MTV.
Wait a minute, pause. When MTV was cool is when they had Headbangers Ball and Real Music TV. They don't have that anymore. It makes me sad. Somebody bring back the real MTV. What?
I seen a meme the other day. It's like, happy birthday, 37 years, 4 years of good music, or something like that.
Dude,
I know, the real world.
MTV was so cool when it was really freaking MTV.
It was, but I remember seeing the song Freight Train by the band Nitro.
Mm-hmm.
And Jim singing, it hits a high soprano D, and there's these wine glasses in front of these amplifiers, and they explode.
Wow.
And I always wanted to do that. And before Nitro, a lot of people don't know this, he had an album called Proud to Be Loud, which had him holding a shattered wine glass. And Michelangelo Badio did that album with him, too. It just wasn't called Nitro. So I've always dreamed of this, but I've been too scared. Well, again, Jim was my coach. We lost contact. I started a website for a while called The Voice Connection. I interviewed, all these really cool people like Tony Harnell from TNT. And I reached out to Jim Gillette, and I couldn't get a hold of him.
Mm-hmm.
And then my phone rings. And my wife knew. I picked it up and heard it's Jamie, because he's got this really deep voice. And she said my jaw hit the floor, because, I'm his biggest fan.
Wow.
You either loved or hated Nitro.
Right.
And most people hated him, but I love his voice. And we became friends. We did the interview. And then in 2004, I get home from work. I was a construction worker, and I get an email from Jim. And we talk, twice a week or something. He said, hey, you want to be on TV? He said, it's not a joke. Do you really want to be on TV? If you can, tell me I can call you. I said, yeah. He called me up. He said, have you heard of Mythbusters? I was like, yeah, I think so. It was only the beginning of second season. He said, they want me to be on Good Morning America, shattering glass with my voice. But I live in the Bahamas and got 2 kids, and I don't want to do it. So I want you to do it.
Wow.
What do you think? And I'm telling you, Derek, my heart and my stomach drop, and inside I'm like, there ain't no way. But I can't let my coach down, so I'm like, absolutely. And he says, don't worry, man. You got me in your back pocket. It's going to be phenomenal. So we train. They sent me a bunch of glasses, amplification, of course, for Good Morning America. He trained me over the phone.
He trained you over the phone?
Yes,
Whoa.
He did. He had me hit a few high notes first. He said, you got this. He said, you'll be fine.
Oh, jeez, dude.
So we did Good Morning America. And after we finished that show, Jamie and Adam and the producers like, wow, you are at least 20 decibels louder than any opera singer that we trained like 20-something opera singers to be my opponent. We picked one girl. And I said, no way. And we had Dr. Roger Schwenke from Meyer Sound. He said, no, this is serious. He said, the highest an opera singer could get at a meter was 85 decibels. He said, you were well over 105. And and on Mythbusters, I was at 117 at 4 foot, 120 at a meter. So
talk about full throttle, man. Holy moly.
Yeah, man. Well, they wanted to do the show, and that was in beginning of November. We're going to get you out here. I kept emailing them, nothing, crickets.
Yeah. So
I had some wine glasses left over. I start screaming at them, and they don't break. And this is so funny. I'm working at a hospital. I'm tying rebar, and my partner, Paul Dehart, he's another foreman for a company. We're not a lot of work going on. He said, bring those wine glasses in. So we're out in a parking lot tying up rebar, and we scream at these things for like a week. And I'm driving home, and I had just talked to Elizabeth Sabine the night before, and he says, Paul's screaming at him on the way home. He says, it would be funny if I broke it, wouldn't it? And I said, give it here. And I grabbed that thing, and I screamed, and it blew up in my face. First time I blew one up just by amplification. And he called me. He's like, I'm your vocal sparring partner. And believe it or not, Paul shattered one like a month later.
Yeah.
We kept working. I was so proud of him. So he truly is my vocal sparring partner.
Wow.
So I told him I could finally do it. Crickets. And my son said, let's film this.
There you go.
So we filmed. It was like the 15th glass I broke, and we filmed it. Back in the day, you didn't have, YouTube or anything. Maybe you did. But I had to film this on like an 8mm or something.
Transferred to the big computer. Brick,
Yes, and I sent it out, and thank God it wasn't on dial-up. But they got the video, and I kid you not, within an hour, I got a phone call and said, hey, we want to fly out here now, like in 2 weeks. Can you do it?
That's all it takes, man. Yeah, once you proved it, it was done. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. So little guy from Ohio goes from Ohio to LA, back to Ohio, and then gets found by his favorite coach, becomes a coach of a sparring partner, and then Brace Class, and then Mythbusters comes. That's a long trail.
It's crazy, and I mean it's so much longer, but we only got 30 minutes. But needless to say, I've been very, very blessed. So.
Wow. So Mythbusters takes you to the next level because everybody saw that, right?
Yeah, all of a sudden I'm getting, and I'm the worst marketer, but I'm writing a book. Actually, my first book, Raise Your Voice, had come out, and that had nothing to do with Mythbusters. I was just already writing it as a coach because I've been teaching since 1996. But then I started getting these calls to do these shows. I was flying to Paris, to Japan, all over the place, and it got bigger and bigger. And then I remembered how I got with James LaBrie from Dream Theater, is I wanted to interview him for my site. And they were on the Gigantor with Megadeth and Symphony X.
And your site address, so I can see, what is it?
Now that's an old site. That's
okay.
The Voice Connection. And we have it. If you type in thevoiceconnection.com, it takes you to JaimeVendera.com. Okay. But we took all that down. But I remember finally, I'm reaching out on like the very first message boards for Dream Theater back in 2005. And I get a message from James LaBrie. And he says, listen, I'm going to grant you your interview. We're not doing interviews in Huntington, West Virginia, but you're going to get one. And he said, the reason being is I told the guys you could shatter glass, and we're not calling you a liar, but none of us believe it. I said, all right. So my best friend Keith Gilbert and I went up to the show. We went on the bus, and James says, so you can really break glass with your voice, huh? And I let out this loud, blood-curdling scream. He jumps, and Keith says, do you want me to go get the wine glass out of the car? And James says, don't bother. Wow. I have no doubt.
Wow. Wow. That's so crazy, man. That's so crazy. So this thing really just took its own life, and everybody wanted you to do it in front of. It's like the parlor trick. Please do that thing that you do. You know.
I know. Yeah, I've had people call like, "Hey, my best friend's cousin's 16-year-old girlfriend wants you to perform at her birthday party."
Right. You're like,
it's dangerous, Derek. I was like, no. In fact, I haven't done. I don't even know if I'll do shows anymore. If I do, I do. But I haven't done one since Amsterdam 4 years ago. And the reason being is 6 years ago, I was in Tokyo, Japan. You can actually hear my voice starting to go out a little bit. I got a piece of glass stuck in my throat. Yeah. And that's why I got this thing hanging here. Wow. And it caused laryngeal nerve damage. So my cords are fine, but I mean, I'm in Tokyo. I got 3 glasses to break. I break the first one, and a piece goes in the back, and it feels like someone jams me with a knife. And I can taste blood. I'm a professional. I keep going. I have to break 2 more glasses, and then I go back to the hotel room, and I'm looking. I'm yawning. In the back of my throat, swollen, it's bleeding. And I end up with the knots. We got the glass out, but the damage is done.
Damage is done, yeah. That's well, so then you say, well, people know you can do this, and then you start training some other vocalists that are other bands. Give me a couple of names.
You know what? Word of mouth. You know, Dream Theater. There's a producer and a singer named Sahaj Tikkanen from a band called Ra, and we're very close. And he sends me everyone. I work with Starset. I've been working with I Prevail. They were just up for 2 Grammys. I just worked with there's a band called The Lonely Ones. They were Boba Flex, and now they I guess their guitar player left, and they wanted to stay together but changed the name. And they just yesterday put out a version of Queen's Flash, and I'm telling you, it blew my mind. I was like, wow, that is amazing, because I'm a harmony freak. So I've worked with pop singers. I can't remember, Thriving Ivory, Kill Hannah. I'm working right now with Stitched Up Hearts. I work with so many people I don't even remember. I mean, it's constantly coming and going. I've worked with a lot of bands in Europe. Some people I can't even legally, you can't say. Some I don't know what it is, and nothing. They're not egotistical singers, but some singers, when a management company, record company calls me, is like, "Hey, we got to keep this on the down low." You know, they had another coach, or they don't want people to know. And I'm like, what year is this? What does it matter? Okay, that's cool. Whatever
it takes. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, but between that and I've written dozens of books. You know, I'm an author. I love writing. I love singing. We just did a version, and you know this because I tagged you, because I know you work for IK, and I'm a freak over that stuff. So we did a song called "Open Your Eyes" by Alter Bridge. Yep. But everybody everybody, especially with COVID now, everyone's doing covers.
Yep.
And
yep.
I will never, ever, ever on my best day sound like Miles Kennedy. Phenomenal singer.
Yeah.
But I do sound like Jaime Vendera. So what we did is Scott and I, the guitarist I've been with for 30 years,
sure.
we did an acoustic version. We changed it to a minor key, put it out, put a video out, sent it to Miles before it came out. And he had some really nice words that I posted, but other words, he's like, dude, this is crazy. You're being yourself.
Nice.
You know, and I think that's what artists like. They can, you know, Dream Theater can hear someone cover their songs, you know, 50 singers, and they may
sure.
sound like James LaBrie, or 50 people sound like Miles Kennedy. But as an artist, you know, try to find who you are and let those qualities shine.
That's awesome.
So,
that's awesome.
And I get a lot of calls like, hey, can you help me sing like Miles Kennedy? Can you help me sing like a James LaBrie? And I'm like, why don't we help you sing like you?
Yeah.
Find your voice.
So here's another question then. So through all this time, when was there adversity? When did you feel like, I can't do this? Or there was a pushback? Maybe you felt like I fell, or you had some failure in there somewhere.
That's honestly, Derek, when the glass happened in Tokyo. I've always been positive, even when writing the book, getting invited from Jim to do Good Morning America. It was mind-blowing. I was like, wow, I can't believe this is happening to me. But I never had any self-doubt of failure. But when the glass happened, I'm used to singing really high, like soprano C's, C sharps, D's, and my voice just went dropped down. Mm-hmm. And so now, like, hitting soprano A has been really hard for me. Soprano G is about where I can get, but I stay in therapy and I work. This is a device.
I was going to ask you about that. What is that device you're holding there?
Well, I'm not trying to self-promotion because we haven't released this, but there's a doctor named Dr. Ilter Denizoglu from Turkey, and he works at a hospital, and he's like amazing. He's done thousands of surgeries for nodules, and he's tired of it though. He's like, wow, I'm having the same people come back in. There's got to be a way to help prevent this from happening. So he developed a device called the Dr. Vokes device. It's a little round device, just like this, but it's made of glass. Mm-hmm. And if you go, that sound creates a back pressure, an equalization of the air above and below the cords, and it actually massages the muscles surrounding your cords.
Wow.
And they've proven it on film. So I ordered it, or they sent it to me. They knew who I was, and I loved it, but I said, Doc, I'm going to break this on the road because I was still doing the shows. I said, can you make the glass top, which is about like this really short, into a rubber piece that I can fit in my pocket? I said, call it Pocket Vokes.
Yeah,
so this is Dr. Vokes. And they did. They made this in 2016, and it blew up. But I'm not happy. So I said, I need a bottle. I'm tired of using these little Aquafina bottles. Make me a bottle. So they made this one, and they have their own bottle for their sites, and they let me keep this design. So we haven't even launched yet. But for those of you who want, I don't care about the money. Go to drvokes.com if you want to check it out. drvokes.us will be us. But it is. James LaBrie from Dream Theater uses this. I know Ripper Owens from who was in Judas Priest, Ralph Sheepers from Primal Fear, Kevin Rudolph. A lot of the singers that I work with, Stephen Algeri, who was in Journey. Mm-hmm. All of these singers are using this to warm up their voice more effectively. Wow. For me, it just helps me because I have daily pain from the nerve damage. So it kind of helps to relax everything. But I'm seeing amazing results with singers using
That's awesome. That's awesome. What would you say to someone who's, sitting in Ohio like you were, that maybe no one would ever find them? How would you say, hey, you can start to be a good singer. This is where you start. This is how you get going.
Oh, I would just send them some free warm-ups.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm always sending stuff out for free. But I would say, look, find songs that you naturally gravitate. I mean, like I love Prince, and I can sing
Prince fan.
Yes. Yeah, and I love Led Zeppelin, and I love Journey, but I can't sing Journey that well. I've done it out in bars, but if I want to sing something that helps me, it's going to be Prince or Led Zeppelin or Evanescence.
Evanescence, another good one. Yeah.
Yeah. So find in your own qualities of your voice what songs helps you, what makes you feel good inside, and then anything else, get a coach. That's not me. I mean, if you want to come to me, that's fine, but get a vocal coach that can go over with you to make sure that you have your breathing, your support, your placement correct. Because most of us as singers, we join a band And we can sing. We can sing along the radio. Therefore, we are a singer. A guitar player can't do that. They can't pick it up and learn. They have to practice.
Sure.
Singers skip that step.
Yeah.
Because you can speak, you can carry a pitch. You think you can sing, and I'm not saying you can't, but that's where the professional singers I work with, where they run into trouble. I have somebody I've never had lessons before, and I'm losing my voice every night. Well, of course, you haven't trained for the mechanics, and you're not doing daily exercises to take care of your voice.
And you got to remember, the voice is still a muscle, just like anything else.
It is.
So.
It is 5 sets of muscles in there. We don't really think of that. We don't even think about the lungs, the intercostals, the diaphragm, the back muscles. We don't think of our body as our instrument. Therefore, we don't train it. But I'm a voice strengthening specialist more than I am a vocal coach. So I'm really into that. I'm really into vocal health and stamina, because most of my singers, when I get called from a record company, it's hey, so-and-so has to tune down half a step, or they have to cancel tonight because his voice is tired. And I've gotten a lot of calls where they're getting ready to go on stage and they're I can't do this. And 10 minutes later, yes, they can. Wow. And they text me afterwards wow, I made it to this show. Wow. Same thing with Miles. That's why people... Before we started this, you mentioned, hey, you worked with Miles. I said, no, I haven't. Miles is a good friend of mine. He wrote an article for my book. He thanked me on Blackbird. But what had happened, so we can clear the air with that, is on Blackbird tour, he was really sick. And I have something in my book, Raise Your Voice, called the Fixer Elixir. It's a gargle that I was given by another vocal coach. And I said, here, have your roadies get this, this, and this, and gargle it, and you'll make it through the show. And he did. Oh, wow. And he was going to a doctor afterwards, and he texted me afterwards, said, I'm not going now. I'm going to use your Fixer Elixir. And I started sweating. I was like, man, they're going to kill me. But he was sick all week, and he made it through by using that gargle. So that's when they thanked me on the Blackbird, because it wasn't out yet. It was just getting ready to come out. So that's why people think, he's always talking about me and saying, hey, have lessons with Jamie. And he has a great vocal coach, Ron Anderson. Yeah. But I'm so humble that he mentions me. So.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, man, here's the last kind of throw it all question together. And Chasing the Impossible is all about those people that want to try to accomplish something on their own. Do you feel like anybody can sing if they're given the tools or the know-how, or is it just if you can carry a tune or bucket, it's a start? But can anybody sing?
I think that it's everyone says I'm talented. It's a gift, but I think it's like anything else. You got to learn a skill. So we've written many books on that, and it's like anything. Whether you want to be an author, you want to be a songwriter, you want to be a singer, you have to put in the time. And I'm very about that type of mindset. I've written books on that. Mind over music, at least your creative mindset. It's the focus. There's nothing special about me that I've done all this stuff. And people I've read is dude, you had to be making half of this up. There's no way you've been on, dozens and dozens of shows and written all these books. But it's just your mindset. So if you love to sing, that's number one. You got to have the passion. Yeah. It can't be this with American Idol and all these shows. It's starstruck. All it's about the stardom of it. You can't skip that step. You gotta go through the emotions. You gotta sing. You gotta join a band and play in your garage. Join a choir. Do all this if you love to sing. And if someone tells you can't sing, ignore them, unless it's constructive criticism. If they say something like, hey, you're good, but you could use a coach. Because, especially as kids, sure. I've had it before, people are like, you suck. And it was jealousy or words in the moment. And then I've had other people say, man, you're really good, but I really think you need a vocal coach. So you have to not really pick and choose, but you got to really listen with your inner self. Be like, okay, maybe there is an issue. I should get a coach. Maybe I should study, but don't give up. Sure. Jim Gillette, when he first started, the bar owner, one of his first bands, they said, the whole band is good. The singer, sorry, buddy, you suck. You're never going to make it. You need to quit. And look, I mean, he is the originator of glass breaking. He has broken one before I even thought about it. But I'm just the first one on film. But he's really, he's my boss.
Wow. It's cool that you give him the credit for it, too. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Well, that's awesome. I appreciate everything he's done for me. And, everyone along the way, every artist I've worked with, it's been a blessing, and it's only helped me to grow. So.
Well, I really appreciate you taking just a few minutes of your time, man. You're always so busy, but you're always so accommodating when I call. So, if there's anything that I can do to make sure people can find you, if someone wants to be a trained vocal person from Jaime Vendera, how do they get a hold of you?
Just go to JaimeVendera.com, JaimeVendera.com. We have so much going on, I can't keep up. We have an online school, Vendera Vocal Academy, which you can join through there, and it has thousands of videos and audios and PDFs. We have a Facebook group where we're always interconnecting. We get together live every month. I critique songs. I got 4 other coaches that work for me.
Do you have time to train anybody else, or is it like you're divvying it out?
You know what? I that's all I do is work. I love to work, so I allow 2 days a week for Skype sessions. I got a studio in Columbus, Ohio, one in Cincinnati. They've been shut down recently because of COVID.
Yeah.
But I'm always writing. I'm always teaching, or I do group workshops. I travel the world and do the big workshops, for many, many singers. But I'm always doing something. And again, like I said, not to promote it, but we're on droaks.us. That's the other way they can get a hold of me for this. And this is a lifesaver for all of you singers. It needs to be everywhere, because I cannot believe the difference I've seen. In fact, I remember James Labrie reached out to me, and for this tour, before everything canceled for COVID, they filmed a live show in England, I believe it was, in London, somewhere over there in Europe. And he says, Jamie, it's the best I felt and sounded. I cannot wait for you to hear this live CD, because my voice feels so good. And he has 4 of these on tour.
Oh, wow. Well, there you heard it, guys. If you want to learn how to sing, if that's your impossible, there are ways to get it done. Even if the voice is damaged, there are ways to begin to heal it. So nothing's that far, nothing's out of reach, nothing is really ever impossible. Right, Jamie?
Correct.
Man, that's awesome. That's awesome, man. Well, you know what? Thanks again for taking the time. You guys, I'm glad you enjoyed your segment today. And as always, just wash some hands. Be careful out there. Let's not get too crazy. Let's stop the violence, increase the peace, of course, and look out for everyone else. Look out for your neighbor, all right? Have a great one, guys.
Absolutely.
Take care.